Welcome to the Men After God podcast, where you will be challenged and encouraged as you pursue God, achieve success, and raise a thriving family. Join your host, Dustin, and his guests on a weekly journey to grow as husbands, fathers, and men after God. Here is your host, Dustin Alley.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Men After God podcast. I am grateful to have you with us this week, and I know that you are going to get a blessing by hearing the story we've got for you today. I got my man Dennis here with me, and he's going to be talking about how God has delivered him from a sinful life, how God has brought him into ministry, and then now how God's leading him in business and church planning. He's got a fantastic testimony to share. He's got a lot of great insights. He's a business partner of mine. We've been looking at going into a few different things together. We've definitely got that entrepreneurial mindset, and there's always some opportunity around the corner that you could be looking at just like we are. Before we get started, though, I want to take just a minute and give a shout out to one of our podcast sponsors, Faithful Shirts. FaithfulShirtsCustom.com is the one who produces all the Men After God apparel and merch. You can go check them out and go ahead and grab you one of our shirts, grab long sleeves because of winter coming up and you don't want to be cold. You want to be representing that Men After God movement out there. Get a coffee mug or anything else you'd like. FaithfulShirtsCustom.com. We're glad to have them on board. All right, Dennis, man, welcome to the party, bro. You came to party. Look at the shirt.
I did. You know, I felt like I needed to be a little lively today and just hang out.
Absolutely. We're hanging loose today, guys. For you listening on audio version right now, Dennis has got a phenomenal Hawaiian shirt on and really went with our Hawaiian Sunday that we just had at the time of this recording, our last Sunday at church. I love that. So that's good, man. So listen, let's tell the guys what's going on. Talk about your family for a minute. Introduce them.
My wife, Katie, I have a son. His name is Ben, and my daughter, Elisa. She's 9, he's 7, and I won't tell my wife's age.
Yeah, you're a smart man. This is how he stayed married for a few years.
We've been married now a little over 10 years, and we had kids right away and started our family and tried to start ministry right away and all of those things. And that's kind of like one of the ways I have this shirt, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do in our family is that we go to the mall and we play weird games.
You go to the mall. Do you mean like a real mall, like 1980s style hanging out in the mall type mall? Or?
Yeah. So we go to West Farms Mall, right?
Okay. All right.
And the other day we played hide and seek in the mall. And so it was guys versus girls.
Okay.
I had my son with me. So we dropped off Katie and Elisa on one side of the mall, drove to the other side of the mall, and got out, and we went to find them. And like, if you can't find them, they start sending you text messages like with pictures and things like that to give you some clues.
Okay.
And then what we did is we found them, and we took a picture of them, and then ran away. And then we went into. I forgot what store it was, but then I bought the shirt and I bought hats and sunglasses and the shirt, and I gave my son a costume change, and then we walked around the mall in the wide open in totally different outfits, and they couldn't figure out like where we were, but we never hid anywhere. We just walked around until my wife saw us from behind.
Oh, wow.
And it was like the third time we passed them.
Oh, really? Okay.
And she finally saw us from behind and realized that my son was wearing his Crocs and his shorts still. That's how they found us. So
that is hilarious, man. So you go and play hide and seek at the mall. And now that just, Dennis, that fits your personality so well. I got to see that. I would probably try to use that as an excuse to like go look at stuff while my wife was looking for me. I mean, some of you guys out there might try to find a Cabela's or something. I'm not a hunter, but I'd be shopping for something. All right. Well, let's talk about this, man. Talk about when, just early life for you. Share some of the guys, your struggles, man, because I love your testimony and just how God delivered you from so much. You ain't got to go, you go as deep as you want, man. This is authentic and raw. We want to be real with our guys, but let's talk about what God brought you out of.
So in 2009, 2008, 2010, in that time frame somewhere, right?
Somewhere's in there.
Is when I started seeking. And I was really into alcoholism. See, what happened was my whole entire life up until I was 27, I wanted to be a professional football player.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of like was my goal. And I was like, and then I didn't realize like God had other plans for me. And I didn't realize that, being 5'8" and like really small, it probably wouldn't be the best. Right.
Yeah, man. I feel that. So, definitely.
But I was determined. And after high school, there's this like kind of this weird thing that happened was like, I was just a goof. In high school.
No, not you, guy who plays hide and seek in the mall. No, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I didn't do well in school. I had horrible grades. Yeah. SAT scores were so low. And when it came time to do like the application for college, to go to like the schools I wanted to. I was like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Tried to find help with that, but couldn't get help. And just that. So, and also in high school is when I had started my partying phase. And so what you think just might be a phase can really do some long-term damage.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely.
And so I went to community college and partied every weekend, every night, found jobs. I had a great time, was living life, doing well. And in essence, that I was just kind of living well to my standards. And through a bunch of crazy circumstances, hit rock bottom. And that was a painful moment. But I woke up and I said to myself, there's got to be a better way to live life than what I'm doing. And so I called a friend that I used to work with and I asked if that she still went to church. And so she brought me on a hike with her friends who happened to be her pastor and like a bunch of people in the church. And then the pastor invited me to come out to his house and, for a little Bible study. I'm like, sure. I'm trying to figure stuff out. Went in, started going to his house during the week, but still kind of partying on the weekends. And we ended up going on another hike where I met my wife for the first time. And she goes, hey, how come you don't come to church in the morning on Sundays? I'm like, well, I go on Sunday night.
That's it.
Yeah. I go on Sunday night. And she says, well, why? And I was like, well, because I still hang out with my friends on Saturdays and I stay out really late. And she knew exactly what that meant.
No hiding from her. Katie's a smart girl.
Yeah. And next Sunday morning, guess where I was, though?
Right in church, right next to her, right?
Well, as close as I could.
As close as you could.
Yeah.
Right? You left room for Jesus. That's good.
And like a week or two later, like I got saved, not expecting it, not understanding what was happening. And for like a month, pastor would preach an invitation. After the message, he would invite, and for a month straight, I would raise my hand for salvation in prayer. And one day he's like, hey, can we meet for coffee? He's like, yeah. He's like, you've been raising your hand a lot. I'm like, yeah, I really need it.
Kind of need to figure out what you're talking about there.
Yeah. And he's like, well, when we had coffee and we were hanging out, he's like, once you believe, that's it. Like, you don't need it more. And I'm like, well, I didn't think I could have salvation.
Oh man, that's good.
So like we would drive around. And all my friends, we would joke, and we'd be like a drive by a church. I'm like, hey, give me that SPF. I feel like I'm going to be burning up soon, right? So like knew, like for me personally, I knew I was going to hell. I just didn't think that I had an option to go to heaven.
Wow.
And until I heard the gospel.
Right. Yeah, man, that's deep. That's awesome. That's so good. And, God has been using women to get men to church for ages. And apparently that's what worked for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's awesome, man. So you guys met then. And did you kind of maintain some of that partying phase with Katie around, or did she help straighten you out? Or what was that like for you early in marriage?
No, because we got married in 2013. So 3 years later. And we started dating. This is kind of a funny story in ours, but we started dating. And so like, as soon as I got saved, I knew I was called into pastoral ministry. And my pastor would be like, no. He's like, no one wants to be a pastor. I said, listen, I'm like, I don't know like what it's called. Like, I just know this is what I have to do. And he was like telling me, oh, it's a calling. I'm like, I really don't care what it is. I'm like, I just know I'm supposed to do this. And I had dropped out of my college I was in and went to Bible college. It was like right down the road. All my funding didn't come in. Like and I had no money. I just was done partying. I had spent all my money on booze and alcohol, trucks, all this stuff. $0 left in my name.
Yeah. And
my funding didn't come in for school. And I was like, hey, can I give it back? And they're like, what? I'm like, can I just like decline that I want it? And they're like, yeah, you can do that. I'm like, perfect. I went right up to school to Bible college. Yeah. And at this time I've been going to church a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the secretary knew me because her children went to the church I went to.
Okay.
And I went there. She's like, hey, nice to see you. You can go audit your pastoral first class here. We pastoral counseling. You can audit that. So I audited my first class and I got out of that class and she gave me a slip of 4 other classes and said that you're enrolled in pastoral ministry.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's awesome. Did someone just cover that cost for you or?
Not that cost, no, but they really worked with me a lot. And someone did cover a semester for me at one point. Wow. And they always worked with me because I had no money. Yeah. So they always worked with me on like just being able to go to school.
That's awesome, man. I didn't realize all that. That's so cool. And so now you've been through Bible college, you get into pastoral ministry. And and I don't want to spend a lot of time on just that previous ministry you were part of. You were there for a good number of years, serving as a pastor, unpaid for, gosh, how long were you doing that? 3, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years. Yeah. When I met you, it was, I think, in the beginning stages of that, like 2019, 2020 time
Yeah,
frame.
I think you just got here and I just started pastoring around the same time.
Yeah. And so I know we connected at some bagel place.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
As my friend was it's one of my first experiences in New England, because bagels and cream cheese are a thing here. And I do not like cream cheese. I'm not really a big fan of bagels all that much. And so, but they're a big deal here. I still can't. I heard it at Dunkin' the other day. This lady was like, "Oh yeah, just get a bagel with some cream cheese." I'm like, "Good Lord, that sounds disgusting." But big deal here. So we met at a fancy bagel place. He was going through, man, that was just a rough patch. But it was really cool what God's done since then. And it's really led to where you are now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about that time period, that's fine, because a lot of our listeners, guys, I know you're struggling with things. You might be in a place where, you're at a job, you're in business, or, you're just, you're in a place to where it's rough and it's difficult. God can help deliver you out of that. He's got a purpose for it if you'll let him use it. And sometimes you do need to stay. But sometimes you do need to realize it's time to go. And so, Dennis, if you want to share a bit about that, that'd be great. But if not, let's start transitioning over into what God's got you going on with church planning.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of lump it all in together.
Okay. All right.
So the previous ministry is I was a senior pastor for 4 years. I was in that ministry for all of my church life. That was the only church I ever knew, really. And when I got the chance to become the senior pastor, it was great. I thought everyone there was like behind me, supporting me. They loved me. I never questioned, even to this day, like I will fight with somebody verbally.
Okay.
If they there's no doubt in my mind that the people in that church didn't love me and my family, and the love was reciprocated back and forth. It was a loving place to be.
Yeah, that's good.
The only problem came with I spent a bunch of years growing in my leadership skills. And when I started implementing that and wanting to go in a different direction is when I got pushback. And we prayed about it for a long time. And it just came to a spot where we wanted to go into the Sun Network. Me and my wife, we really believed that was God's will, that we go into the Sun Network and become a part of that, and as church planners. And because I had only been pastoring the church for 3 years, I learned that we can probably bring the whole church into it and still be considered a church planner. And so we were trying to do that. And in the congregational model that we were in, it had to come to a vote. And after talking with everyone in the church, I realized that I wasn't going to get the vote. And that's okay. I came to this conclusion over a lot of wrestling. I was really working on some stuff. God was working on me. He broke me down, just total brokenness. Yeah. And I went to my wife one day. I said to her, "Hey, I can't do this anymore." And she was blown away, because my mentality is always there's a way, there's a will, we'll find it and we'll figure it out. I was broken. I said, I can't do it. And we ended up leaving that church. I was working about 35 hours a week for the church, working about 35 hours a week for my business. And I thought my liver was going to shut down. I had blood work done. And the doctor told me that I had to quit drinking, I had to exercise and eat healthy. And I said, what? I said, I've been drinking 13 years.
Yeah.
I said, I've been working out a lot because I want to enter a bodybuilding competition, and I eat healthy. I'm like, so what's going on? No one can figure it out. Went back for blood work again, same results. My liver enzymes were really high, and they said that it looked like it was shutting down. I had a rash all over my body. We thought it could have been long-term COVID. It was just just all over me all the time. And those were part of the things that made it difficult. And just kind of keeping that to myself, not telling my wife, not telling anyone, just keeping it to myself to be strong.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have heart problems, all this stuff. All of it helped lead out to us leaving the church. And we came to that conclusion. It was well, we don't want to be the problem here. We could have forced it, and we could have done things, and we probably could have won the vote. the Lord didn't lead that way. And it was just like, it would have been like really like crazy situation, I feel like, and it just kind of really unhealthy in my leadership. And so we just kind of said, all right, I think it's us. So we're going to lead and God's going to direct us. Then we went to a church right down the road. And we went through the Send Network process and we became residents in that church. And they're sending us out in October to plant a church across the river in Rocky Hill.
Right. Let me clarify some things that he said, guys, because I know some of you are involved with ministry and there's some terms he used there. He talked about Send to Network. Send to Network is the church planting arm of the Southern Baptist Convention. And they've just got a wonderful process, wonderful assessment and things. And I saw Dennis while he was going through this. And I remember every time I talked to him, just the battles he was fighting and just, praying for him and just thinking like, dude, I would not be doing what you're doing. And he did it for longer than I think most would, working as a pastor for free and then a job on the side. His wife, Katie was working, 50 plus hours or more at her job trying to, just make it by. And
well, that was because of COVID hit too.
Yeah.
And so she was working 50 plus hours a week for 3 years.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was just, from the outside looking in, it was nuts. And I was just remember thinking like, I don't know how you're doing it. Right. And then, just honestly, your body began telling you, you can't keep this up.
Yep.
And the humbling that had to take place. But guys, I want to pause you for a minute and let you kind of ruminate on this. We as men often go after that success. We go after whatever it is that's in our minds that we need to accomplish, whether he mentioned a bodybuilding competition, or maybe it's a church, maybe it's a business, maybe it's your job. You got to get that promotion. You got to go to that next level. You got to hustle. You got to grind. And you start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing it. But did you ever stop and ask, like, God, is this what you want me doing? And then humbling yourself to say, oh, wait, that's not it. Let me realign my goals and maybe my entire life so that, God, you can use me how you want to. And that's really what Dennis had to do. And when he's making it, you've shortened it up. Getting over to the church that he's at now, getting through this assessment process has been an emotional thing for them. It has been a physical thing for them, but it's been a blessed thing. That's what's been so cool, is to see the blessings that you have been able to receive from the church you're at now and the support and love that they have for you, man. Your pastor there, I know him minimally, but I know he's a great guy. And so he's going out in the church planting world, planting in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. And so if any of you guys near there or know anyone near there, be on the lookout for when Dennis plants. That's been up in the air a bit. I know there's some plans changing around all that, but I want you, in order to support the church plant and his life, after again leaving a pastor, but leaving the pastorate there, you weren't getting paid anything. But he's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman, and he's got Top Dog Junk Removal, right?
It's
Top Dog Moving Solutions.
Well, it's very close. It's a very difficult name. Home Solutions.
Home Solutions. Top Dog Home Solutions. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And so we started as a moving company and a junk removal company, kind of together.
And talk about that process, man, because I know I've watched you grow this thing. And I remember early on you telling me just kind of the little things you're doing. And now you've got contracts with major companies. You're getting junk jobs. You're getting moving jobs. It seems like you went from getting something every now and then to you've built a business that's consistently providing you work and income.
Yeah, with the business, you have to make some choices. And so there's some months, actually, I don't even still get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Because the way we chose to put money back into the company.
Yeah.
Or should I say like I have some huge team with me or something, but yeah. But there's months where it pays off so much. And so there's kind of like those little aspects of it. But one of the things that I went and helped a friend on a moving, because I did this basically my whole life, right? Like I joke with people. I said, I'm good for two things. I can listen to you and I can pick up heavy things.
There you go. I mean, if you got to have two talents, why not?
And so I went to help a friend. He goes, hey, do you know how to move stuff? I'm like, yeah, I do it all the time. I did it for my church. I did it for just anyone who would want help. And then I used to do it like in high school as when I wasn't like in football camps or wrestling camps, I would do my summer jobs was a moving company. So I went up to help him and I looked at him, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you just rent a truck? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, how much does insurance cost? And he's like, oh, it's not really, that much. And he gave me his insurance guy and we talked and I'm like, and I had, at this time I was in plumbing school because
I remember that. Yeah.
Before,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right before COVID hit, I had tried to start a magazine business and I was in sales for 18 months, again, with no paycheck. doing sales, but the sales only supported the magazine to get started.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really no money that had come in. But during that 18 months, I really did learn how to sell. And, but when COVID hit, I had like no hope left. That was just done. And so I'm like, I always remembered everyone telling me like, because the people I would sell would be small businesses, and they would always like, oh, we can't find good help. So I'm like, oh, I'll go to plumbing school because I don't like electrical. I'm like, pipes I can handle, and I'll just do this and then get a job. So I started doing that, and then in plumbing school, because it was COVID, I was able to go to school. We went to school 3 days a week online, 2 days in person. And so I had my iPad with me. I'd travel to my jobs, and I'd just do my classes online before, and then I'd shut it and go do work. And so that's what I was doing. Went with my friend, did his moving company. I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I had another friend go, hey, do you know anyone that can move somebody? I said, I do. And I got a bunch of the guys from plumbing school, and we started moving stuff. And so you want to talk about
Got to get creative. I love it, man.
Yeah. So I literally had $0 to start with, and I didn't start with zero. And I started with $0.
Yeah.
And I had a credit card with $1,200 on it, and I just charged it and paid it up.
Yeah.
And I just kept on doing that until I started seeing it like really kind of moving, because the word of mouth just started to spread. Don't forget this time too, I spread myself really thin because it was going well.
Yeah.
And that like hit a hardcore like crash because I was too thin. I was trying to grow too fast. So this is just ending my second year. I was able to double my business every year so far. So not huge numbers,
right?
Not huge numbers, but it's doubled.
Well, yeah. When you start with zero, doubling you're not too hard.
Yeah. So like I think it was like, like they're really small numbers. It's not like 0 to like 100, but it's, in a couple of tens of thousands. And just kind of been able to do that. And I'm on track this year to double again.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did was I focused on relationships, and then I go out every day. I don't have a job, and I'm not like doing something for ministry. My goal is to meet 5 or 10 new people, because I truly believe that God will direct your path. I pray about it. I go, and then I believe that God will direct my path, and I just start going out and handing my business card out to people, introducing myself to people. Wow. Coffee shops, wherever I am. I'm just moving and
just networking.
Exactly. That's and then we joined a couple business groups. The Dibs business group was huge. That was so huge for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I met another business owner in Dibs who has a restoration company.
Real quick, Dibs is Dads in Business, primarily focuses on dads in business in Connecticut, but you can find the Facebook group, and I think about anybody can join. The prerequisite is to be a dad
in business.
Yeah. We're pretty straightforward, guys.
Yeah. And I went to a couple masterminds through there, and I met and both those masterminds I went to helped me in my business. So I guess a quick shout out for masterminds. If you don't think if you only have like $500 or $1,000, like you can't really buy anything with that. So divest it into yourself, and it will pay off.
Man, that is so huge. And when mastermind, group coaching, any of that, man, like I've never spent a dime on coaching I did not get back some way. And, because I invested in myself and I grew and I was able to do something with it. And it may be non-tangible of relationships with my spouse or my kids, or it may be more tangible. And, I learned how to do something in business, or I learned sales, or I learned communication, and that's why we offer our coaching program, which at the time of this, when this is posted up, our coaching program beta group is going to be live and rocking. And so you guys that are inside of that, listening to this, I hope you're getting the value out of it. I know it's going to be awesome for you, and it's going to be a great journey. And so, but that's why we have our coaching program that we're going to launch in full next year. Be on the lookout for it.
And so I met another dad in business, and he owns a restoration company, and he just wanted to help me. He knew I was a Christian. He was a Christian. He wanted to help my company, and we ended up connecting. And he he ended up using in the wintertime, he used my guys for labor when he didn't have stuff. Because, people's houses, pipes are bursting, things like that. And he just needed guys to get the junk out of the house, like clean up. So we did that. And then we did, and then this year, he had, again, helping my company, brings me on as their moving company. So now whenever something happens, we come in and we pack the house up and we move it to their warehouse. And so those things just add on top of the business I already do have. I was able to get into life storage units, and that's really cool. So that was just one day I had a choice to go to my brother's house or to take a right-hand turn and go to a life storage unit and meet my fifth person for the day. And I was like, I have 5 people. I have a meeting with my brother. I'm supposed to hang out and we have a talk, do some stuff. And I'm like, well, he won't mind if I'm late.
Right? Yeah, it's your brother.
So I went and I met that person, and they just happened to be looking for a new junk guy. And I gave a price, and she's like, well, these other guys gave me this price. I said, well, I can't beat that. That was just too good.
Yeah. Wow.
And she goes, but I said, hey, I'm like, for like $700 more, I can do a lot more work. And I just went through all the units they needed, gave her the quote, and they got approved immediately.
Wow. That's awesome.
Because they realized how much value I was giving in there.
Yeah.
And
just taking that action, man.
And that one went from them. I think they have like 17 in the state. That one went from them to another person. She told the other people to use me, and it just started going back and forth. And I have 8 different life storage units that use me every quarter now.
Yeah. For
the last year, and it just helps get that revenue moving. And it's just those things are like, oh, I have this business now. I have these companies, and I was trying so hard to get into extra space storage units, but I just couldn't break that bubble. Well, guess who bought out life storage units?
Who?
Extra Space.
Oh, wow.
And guess who's been approved to be doing the junk removal still?
Top Dog Home Solutions.
So
that's so cool, man.
Yeah. And so now Extra Space is even bigger now.
Yeah.
And so I have these contracts, and I'm hoping to even now go out and just meet some more people like, oh, Bob, he said that I could, I don't know if Bob's listening. So, but
yeah.
Right.
Bob, if you're listening, we appreciate you. We want to make sure you get this deal, right?
So, and I'm able to go around and to these other units now to add more to my contracts and more people to my list for the junk jobs. And then,
that's awesome.
So you have, I focused on people that had businesses that needed my help and the service that I can provide, versus just trying to throw a ton of money into marketing, which I also did that too, and other things like that. But the relationship side of it and building has been better right now, as I had no experience in actual digital marketing or anything like that. And so as I learn these things and as we start saving some money up to put out into that, I'm sure in the next couple of years, it's going to start going now even more.
Yeah. I know a good digital marketing company for you.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I hope so. That's good, man. What I love about your story, bro, is it's just like you took action. You just started taking action. And I think for many of us, when it comes to, what are we going to do next? How are we going to do this? We just got to take action. Our podcast is focused on to help men that want to achieve success in life with a thriving faith and family. And it's about taking action, guys. Taking action in your business. And then when we started this whole thing off with how he takes action with his family. I mean, they playing hide and seek in the mall. Come on, we can all do that. You just got to take action. You got to make some time for it. And so I'm really excited, thankful that you got to come on here with us, man. And so we're gonna have to wrap up. I'm getting ready to get our next interview going. And so, Dennis, if you could leave our guys with one thing, right? One thing. What would you leave them with to be able to grow a business and have that time with their family? What would you say?
Learn to walk in the Spirit.
That's good.
So I used to pray for things, and then I'd be like, all right, I prayed for it. Let's do it. And that might not have always been God's will, or that might not have always been the best. And through the process that I went through in that humbling time, I learned to step into what God's already doing instead of trying to run before God. And so I guess that would be it. Just try to learn how does the Holy Spirit move in your life. And as you're praying and seeking things, you can still take action, but maybe it's a little bit different than you thought it would be.
I love it, man. Being yielded to the Spirit and those things. Hey, listen, guys, we're going to be closing it out for the day. If you're one of our founding members, we're going to be, I'm going to try to get another session. I'm going to see if I can get Dennis back over here because I've got another interview lined up. But we're going to get him in here for a recording on some steps you can take to start your own junk business or a moving company, whichever one you prefer to do. And he'll get a little bit more detailed of what that is. But it's for our founding members only. And so if you'd like to be a founding member of the Men After God podcast and movement, you can go to patreon.com/menaftergod. Sign up. It's $8.33 a month. You get a free piece of merch from our store. You get exclusive content that we put out. You get 4 free coaching calls with me if you choose to use them. You also get a coaching call with a training nutrition coach, a relationship coach, and then also a finance coach. And then don't forget, we are going to be putting out more and more content for our founding members and paid subscribers as time goes on. So go check that out, patreon.com/menaftergod. We're going to shut this recording down. Dennis, thanks for being on with us, brother. We will get together again soon. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Men After God podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and keep up with the show by following us at facebook.com/menaftergod. You can also reach out to Dustin personally at dustin@seekconsulting.us with any questions or for coaching on being a man after God. Until next time.